Hello everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bulletin. We're glad to have you with us today. This episode, we're uncovering a story that has taken fans completely by surprise. A shock announcement has just rocked Korean showbiz. Jang Ki-yong has revealed his marriage at the age of 33. And the bride is none other than his Dynamite Kiss co-star. From on-screen chemistry to a real-life wedding. How did this unexpected love story unfold? Why was everything kept so secret until now? Stay with us as we break down the details behind this headline-making revelation. Right here on Behind the Bulletin. The first sign that something was wrong came not from an announcement, but from silence. For weeks, Jang Ki-yong's name had vanished from the usual cycle of casting rumors, interviews, and brand appearances. In an industry where visibility is currency, absence is never accidental. Editors noticed. Fans noticed. Insiders began whispering. Whispers turned into shock. Late one evening, reports began circulating through entertainment circles claiming that Jang Ki-yong, at 33, had quietly married, and that the bride was no stranger to the spotlight. According to multiple industry sources, his co-star from Dynamite Kiss, the drama where their on-screen chemistry had once ignited intense fan speculation. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Social media lit up with disbelief. Fans revisited old clips, interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, replaying moments that now felt loaded with meaning. A glance held too long. A laugh that lingered. Lines that blurred the boundary between acting and reality. Had it all been hiding in plain sight? What made the situation even more shocking was the way it allegedly unfolded. No engagement rumors. No paparazzi photos. No gradual build-up. Just a sudden revelation that rewrote everything people thought they knew. Industry insiders described the mood as stunned. Jang Ki-yong had always been perceived as careful, disciplined, almost methodical about his image. A private person. Yes, but marriage, especially to co-star, was a move that defied every unspoken rule of idol actor culture. Questions flooded in faster than answers. Now, why her? Why the secrecy? Agencies remained tight-lipped. No confirmations, no denials. That silence only sharpened the tension. In Korean showbiz, silence is rarely neutral. It often signals that something sensitive is unfolding behind closed doors. As the hours passed, one thing became clear, even if the full truth had yet to surface. The narrative had already shifted. Jang Ki-yong was no longer just a leading man. He was at the center of a story powerful enough to disrupt fan loyalty, media narratives, and carefully constructed celebrity boundaries. It was only the beginning. As the shock settled into something heavier, the industry began to reckon with the implications. The reports were true. This wasn't merely a personal milestone, it was a statement. In an environment that quietly discourages public relationships, let alone marriage, especially with a co-star, Ki-yong's alleged decision felt almost rebellious. Sources claimed the relationship had developed slowly, deliberately, far from cameras and headlines. Fans once dismissed as just acting may have been the foundation of something real, nurtured in secrecy to protect both careers. That secrecy, however, came at a cost. Fans felt conflicted, torn between support and betrayal, admiration and disbelief. Praised the courage it took to choose a personal life over public approval. Others struggled with the sudden collapse of the fantasy they had held on to for years. The media, meanwhile, faced its own dilemma. How do you cover a story that refuses to confirm itself? Every headline walked a tightrope between reporting and speculation. Every word carried weight. Behind the scenes, producers and brands reportedly reassessed future plans. Marriage changes narratives. It's marketing angles. It alters audience perception. Whether fair or not, the impact is real. Yet what stood out most was Jang Ki-yong's continued silence. No clarification. No emotional letter. No carefully worded statement thanking fans for understanding. Just quiet. That quiet forced the public to confront an uncomfortable truth. Celebrities do not owe their lives to the audience. The illusion of access, to love, to intention, to timing, can vanish overnight. This chapter proves anything. It is that control has shifted. Not to agencies. Not to fans. Back to the individual. Whether the reports will eventually be confirmed or reshaped by official statements remains to be seen. The damage, or perhaps the transformation, is already done. Because in one sudden wave of rumors and revelations, Jang Ki-yong crossed an invisible line, stepped out of the role written for him and into a life defined on his own terms. And that, more than any headline, what truly shocked Korean showbiz. The story is still unfolding. Silence continues to speak. What followed was not confirmation, but pressure, the kind that builds slowly, relentlessly, until silence itself becomes the story. Days passed with no official response. The rumor hardened into something more dangerous: assumption. Entertainment forums began treating the alleged marriage as fact, dissecting every public appearance Jang Ki-yong had made in the past year. Old interviews resurfaced, now read through a new lens. Casual remarks about wanting stability someday were reframed as hidden confessions. Even moments once considered forgettable were elevated into supposed evidence. The atmosphere turned suffocating. Others described frantic conversations behind closed doors. Publicists debated strategy. Executives weighed the cost of denial against the risk of confirmation. An industry trained to control narrative timing with surgical precision. The loss of control was unsettling. And still, nothing came. The co-star at the center of the speculation became an unwilling focal point. Her social media activity, or lack of it, was scrutinized with almost obsessive intensity. A delayed post, a vague caption, without context. Every detail fueled the fire, whether meaningful or not. Support and hostility collided in equal measure. Messages of congratulations sat uncomfortably beside accusations of betrayal. The line between curiosity and entitlement blurred rapidly, posing the volatile underside of fandom culture. Meanwhile, industry veterans began to speak more openly, not about the truth of the rumor, but about what it represented. They pointed out how rare it was for an actor of Jang Ki-yong's stature to allow a personal narrative to unfold without intervention. No carefully staged reveal, emotional explanation, just restraint. In that restraint, some saw weakness, a quiet defiance. The question shifted again. It was no longer did he get married. It became why doesn't he stop this? The answer, according to those close to the situation, was simple and unsettling, because stopping it would mean surrendering something far more valuable: autonomy. By not responding, he refused to validate a system that demands constant transparency from public figures while offering none in return. He neither confirmed nor denied. Space for ambiguity in a world that despises it. That ambiguity forced the audience to confront its own expectations. The need to know, the urge to possess, the assumption that access to talent equals access to truth. At the same time, the industry felt the tremor. Star could withstand this level of pressure without immediate clarification. The rules themselves began to look fragile. Their dynamic, long tilted toward agencies, media cycles, and fan demands, appeared to wobble. Feared the consequences. Others quietly admired the resolve. And then came the most unexpected development of all. The rumor began to lose its urgency. Not because it was resolved, but because attention shifted. New headlines emerged. Other scandals competed for space. The relentless news cycle moved on, as it always does. What remained, however, was a changed perception. Jang Ki-yong was no longer viewed solely as a romantic lead or a carefully curated image. He had become a figure associated with boundary setting, intentional or not. A reminder that even in an industry built on exposure, all is possible. Whether the marriage rumor proves true or fades into the background matters less now than the effect it had. It exposed the fault lines between fame and privacy, between narrative control and personal choice. And perhaps that is why the silence endured. Because sometimes, the most radical act is not revelation, but refusal. As this story draws to a close, one thing is certain: it was never just about a wedding rumor or a shocking headline. It was about the fragile line between public fascination and personal freedom, and how quickly that line can be crossed. Whether the reports surrounding Jang Ki-yong ultimately prove true or quietly fade away, the impact has already been felt. Silence, the speculation, and the emotional reactions revealed more about the industry and its audience than about any single individual. In a world that demands constant access and immediate answers, choosing restraint became the most powerful statement of all. This story reminds us that behind every role, every image, and every carefully crafted narrative is a human being entitled to privacy, choice, and timing. Fame may invite attention, does not erase the right to live life beyond the spotlight. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. Your curiosity, Patience and willingness to look beyond the headline are what give stories like this their true meaning. We appreciate your time and support. Until the next story unfolds, thank you for watching and for listening behind the bulletin.